Welcome to 3-Minute Gestalt, Unit 30, Trauma and Abuse. So trauma and abuse is a very big topic. Just briefly, what does Gestalt have to contribute to it? There's been a lot of developments in the last, especially probably 20 years in our understanding of trauma, how it works in the brain and how to work with it therapeutically and the vagus nerve and all that type of thing. What I want to address is Gestalt's particular contribution. So Gestalt being awareness-based, like the work of Peter Levine, is very much parallel with what we do in Gestalt. We bring someone to awareness, but we do so in a way which is supported, so that, for instance, if there's a traumatic experience, what we do is we go into the body, we support the person with their breathing, we support them with our therapeutic presence, and slowly but adventurously we step into the experience of trauma, bringing into the present so it becomes handleable, and bringing into the therapeutic relationship so there's a container for it. That's one of the ways in which we work with trauma and Gestalt. We also work with it very much relationally. So the Gestalt relationship is very important. We develop in this I-thou sense, and it becomes a very powerful container for working with trauma. Another element of working with trauma and abuse is sometimes, although people are often victims of abuse or on the other end of some trauma that's been done to them, it's quite frequent that in some form, especially as they mature, they may themselves repeat injury to others, certainly not intended often, but nevertheless in some automatic way perhaps. And so part of dealing with trauma is also dealing with the way that people can become perpetrators themselves in some form or another. It might not be sexually abusing a child, but it might be taking one's anger out on one's partner, or other forms of creating harm. Now, that's a lot harder to touch in psychotherapy, because people come to psychotherapy with their pain, and very few people come to psychotherapy saying, hey, I hurt other people a bit too much and I don't like it and I'd like to change it. Sometimes people do come for anger management or something, but it's less frequent, and often it then goes back to trauma they've experienced. Now, that's important to deal with. It's an underpinning. At the same time, Gestalt, we're interested in responsibility in an existential sense, not in a moralistic sense. So we're also interested in helping people identify where it is that they might step on other people's toes, where it is that they might repeat patterns where they're creating trauma for other people. Gestalt's very suited to that, because we're able to go into this sort of process of helping people recognize their choices and therefore take responsibility without the burden of guilt or blame just weighing them down, self-blame or self-attack. At the same time, Gestalt is not just a Rogerian therapy which reflects back to the client. We also like to engage the client and find appropriate ways to challenge them. And part of working with trauma can be to help the other person see how the other side of it is that they flip, perhaps. So we like to work with the whole picture in Gestalt. And of course, support is paramount, and especially on a somatic level, where we don't get too much into what's going on in the mind, though that's important in trauma, but very much grounding in the experience of the body, which is the ways that we can help the person self-regulate, and where we as therapists can also regulate our own nervous system, so that as we come into relationship, we have an impact on the person by the experience of contact, not just in terms of what the process we facilitate.